Letting a man lead does not mean you stop leading yourself. The healthiest women I know deeply lead themselves, even in marriages where their husbands lead the household. Let me tell you firsthand, a self-led woman doesn't become weak just because she's loved well. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Amor de Luna. Now, I used to think that women who would have to talk to their husbands before making plans or decisions were weak and incapable of existing on their own, and I used to judge the hell out of them. I thought, ask a man for permission? Could never be me, girl. And I think that's where a lot of women misunderstand what it means to have healthy leadership in a marriage and what that actually looks like. Because yes, I believe now men are called to provide, protect, and lead their households, but that doesn't mean that women become passive, voiceless, incapable, or dependent on a man for every single decision. That's not what I'm teaching at all. What I'm teaching is that a woman should be deeply self-led too. She should know who she is outside of a relationship, and she should have her own relationship with God, her own convictions, her own wisdom, and have her own ability to think critically. A healthy woman is not waiting for a man to become her identity. She's already rooted in her identity before the relationship even begins. This is why I teach intentional dating. And honestly, that kind of self-leadership protects women from unhealthy dynamics. Because when you know how to lead yourself, you're less likely to tolerate any kind of manipulation, inconsistency, emotional immaturity, or chaos just because someone's attractive or charismatic. You stop confusing attention with safety, and you stop confusing chemistry with compatibility, and you stop abandoning yourself or stop using your discernment just to keep a relationship. Because you should still ask questions. You should keep your wisdom, pay attention to patterns, take responsibility for your own healing and growth. You don't need to hand over your brain, your voice, or your standards just to keep somebody. And I think that's important to say because some people see my videos and conversations about masculine leadership and think women are smaller, quieter, or less capable, but healthy relationships should actually make both people stronger. So, what does healthy leadership look like? He creates emotional safety. A healthy man does not make his wife feel emotionally unsafe, anxious, and afraid to communicate. You can bring concerns to him without being mocked, shut down, screamed at, manipulated, or punished emotionally. A healthy leader listens. Number 2, healthy men don't avoid responsibility and then expect authority. Leadership means handling problems, having direction, taking initiative, making hard decisions when necessary, not blaming everybody else. And number 3, he leads through service, not ego. Biblical leadership is sacrificial. Ephesians says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And Christ led through service, sacrifice, patience, protection, humility, not dominance. A healthy man asks, how can I make life safer, better, and more stable for my family, for my wife? Number 4, he's consistent, not just charismatic, not just romantic, occasionally consistent. His words align with his actions. You know who he is in front of people and behind closed doors. You're not constantly confused. And consistency builds trust, and that allows you to feel safe. Number 5, he allows you to have a voice. A wise man values his wife's wisdom, intuition, perspective, and discernment because marriage is partnership, and a healthy husband does not fear your input. Number 6, he is emotionally disciplined. This is huge because healthy leadership means that you can regulate your emotions, not exploding, not acting impulsively, not trying to control everything, not shutting down after every conflict. A man who can lead himself emotionally will not struggle leading the household. Number 7, he has direction. Not perfection, direction. He has goals, a vision, intentionality, responsibility. You don't feel like the relationship is wandering aimlessly or your future is wandering aimlessly. Number 8, he protects. Protection says, I care about your well-being, not possession. Possession says, I need control. Healthy men protect your emotional well-being, your physical safety, your peace, your dignity. They don't isolate, dominate, or control you. Number 9, he encourages your growth. A healthy man does not need his wife to shrink so he can feel masculine. He wants her to be healthy, fulfilled, emotionally grounded, growing, purposeful. And a lot of men are like this, but society tries to tell you otherwise. And honestly, the most important thing about leadership is that when you find a man that has true leadership, you will find that you're safer, you feel emotionally covered, you feel supported, and it should never require you to feel abandoned or that you can't use your intuition or you have to shrink in order for him to feel powerful. He will complement you to where your strengths grow together. There's stability and peace and mutual support in the household. Too many people hear conversations about masculine leadership and assume it means that we're silent or submitting without thought. It's about responsibility. Healthy femininity has never been about helplessness or no strength at all. A self-led woman knows how to think critically. She knows how to communicate, knows how to discern character. She knows how to regulate her emotions instead of impulsively. She knows how to contribute to her health outside of the relationship instead of expecting her husband to carry everything alone. That kind of woman is not weak. She's grounded. And honestly, the healthiest relationships are usually built between two people who are both capable of leading themselves well. People hear me say, let him lead, and automatically think that means a woman stops thinking for herself. She stops growing, she stops contributing, and blindly follows a man just because. No, like women have always been capable leaders across generations, communities. They raised families, they influenced decisions, held entire households together. Even in the Bible, women were never portrayed as weak-minded followers. Deborah led a nation. Esther used wisdom and influence to save her people. The Proverbs 31 woman had led finances, property, sold things. She was an entrepreneur. She held the family together. And you have to use your discernment, stewardship, and influence in order to be like that type of woman. It's about you using your strength instead of constantly feeling you have to fight for power. And society definitely convinces a lot of women that in order to be valuable, we have to do what men do. But like, why? Why is there such an urge to compete with men instead of working together in our strengths? A lot of it comes from hurt. A lot of women, like I used to think that way, is because you feel abandoned, unsupportive, or forced to survive on your own. So now your nervous system says, I can't trust anyone else to lead. I have to do it myself. And honestly, sometimes that instinct is right, because just because men are called to lead does not mean every man is capable of leading well. That's the part that people skip in my content. Not every man is fit for that role. That's why women need discernment. That's why standards matter. That's why I teach intentional dating. That's why you should not just choose any random man and convince yourself he's automatically capable of providing, protecting, and leading and emotionally covering you. The title alone does not equal maturity. A masculine image does not equal safety. Confidence doesn't lead to character. A man can say all the right things and still lack consistency, still lack emotional stability, integrity, accountability. This is why discernment matters so much more than attraction. Attraction can make people ignore red flags. Loneliness can make people settle, and fear can make people cling to potential instead of reality. And healthy relationships are built off of patterns, not promises. Watch how someone handles pressure. Watch how he communicates during conflict. Watch if he takes accountability and if what he does aligns with what he says. Those actions scream far more than the words, right? And neuroscience supports this too, because women don't feel physically safe or emotionally safe if a man doesn't follow through. The brain becomes anxious, controlling, and defensive because the body doesn't trust that someone else can safely carry that responsibility. And when people live in that chronic survival mode, your nervous system prioritizes control over connection. So that's why women say, I have to do everything myself, because somewhere along the way, her brain learned it's not safe to rely on anybody. And the truth is, survival mode changes the way people experience his relationships. That's why I had a totally different perspective than I do now back then. When someone has spent years carrying everything alone, receiving help can actually feel uncomfortable, rest can feel unsafe, and trust is a risk. And sometimes women do become too masculine, quote unquote, because of years of overfunctioning. your nervous system adapts to that survival mode, and healing often looks like slowly learning that partnership is possible. And this is important. If your nervous system doesn't trust a man, you will naturally feel forced to lead all the time. You're gonna feel anxious, exhausted, because deep down, your instincts are telling you, I do not feel safe letting this person carry responsibility. I've been in a relationship like that before, and I could not relax. I could not soften. I could not trust. And honestly, it was confirming what I believed about men. Not because I was incapable of being feminine, but because my nervous system did not feel secure at all. It had no reason to. And then people hear advice like mine and think that's anti-woman and that's patriarchal, that's harmful. No, I'm actually teaching women to become more discerning. I'm teaching women to stop romanticizing potential and start paying attention to compatibility, consistency, character, because biblically leadership is not domination. Ephesians tells husbands to love their wives the way Christ loved the church, because he sacrificed, he was patient, and he protected. Healthy masculine leadership is not do what I say. It's how do I serve, protect, and provide and care for my family well. And therefore, as a woman, you feel like you can be feminine. It's discernment, intentional action, self-leadership, and both healthy masculinity and femininity work together if there's mutual respect and both people learn how to support each other instead of constantly fighting for control. So leading yourself means taking accountability for your own healing, your growth, your behavior, communication, and the way that you show up in marriage, motherhood, relationships, and in your life. It means continue to pursue your purpose, your goals, your dreams, and your growth, and knowing how to survive if necessary. It means developing the wisdom instead of waiting for someone else to make every decision for you. Learning how to communicate clearly instead of expecting people to read your mind. It means healing unhealthy patterns so you can stop recreating chaos in your relationships. Self-leadership also means understanding that your emotions matter, but they should not control every interaction. It means learning how to pause before reacting, learning how to apologize, learning how to listen, learning how to stay emotionally grounded even during conflict, because healthy relationships are not sustained by feelings. They're sustained by emotional maturity, consistency, and effort from both people. And I think women should know how to do everything a man does, not because your goal is to take over, but because life happens. He's human too. If he gets knocked down emotionally, spiritually, financially, or mentally, you should be capable enough to help carry the family for a season. That's partnership. Ecclesiastes says, 2 are better than 1, and if either of them falls, one can help the other up. That's the goal. Not power struggles, not competition, partnership. It requires that flexibility. Sometimes one person carries more emotionally, one person carries more financially. Some people need extra support during difficult seasons. Healthy couples understand that life moves in seasons, and instead of keeping score against each other, you should respect each other and help each other out. I tell my husband, I got you and you got us, because I know what it feels like to carry everything. I've lived that survival mode before, and I don't want a relationship where I feel alone in leadership anymore. And I definitely don't want to make my husband feel that way, because at the same time, I didn't know how to do that. So when I got in a marriage where my husband actually did make me feel safe, I kind of stepped away because I didn't want to ruin it. But that's not being self-led. You know how they talk about women are the emotional glue of the household? You hear it all the time when a woman maybe passes away, like, dang, she was the glue of the family, the heart of the family. Women often carry the emotional heartbeat of the home. They remember the little things, they nurture connection, they notice emotional shifts in the household. They often create that warmth, safety, and emotional consistency that holds relationships together. That role isn't less valuable just because it looks different than a man's. Emotional leadership is one of the most powerful forms of leadership there is. Because people may forget what you provided materially, but they rarely forget how a home felt emotionally. And at the end of the day, it isn't about control. It's not about superiority. It's not about men being better than women. It's about building a relationship where both people use their God-given strengths to protect, support, and influence and strengthen the family together to build something. And I had to learn that because I wanted to help my husband. I didn't want to leave him alone in life, but I also didn't know how to do that either. So I had to learn how to lead myself well, and that means choosing someone to trust to lead beside me, but not forgetting that I still need to take responsibility over my growth, my contributions, even if it doesn't look like the man's role that I was taught. Even if it's not monetarily and leading everything and controlling everything, my value, my contribution is in my femininity. It's who I am at my core. My husband married me for me. So I need to take confidence in that, and I need to show up for him and the way that he showed up for me. He protects, provides, and leads our family because he is the head of our household. But I am the neck, and the head cannot turn without the neck. Women have a lot of influence. We have emotional discernment, and we also have wisdom. So don't take that lightly and think that I'm telling you that your role is less than. Your role is majorly important. We are the ones who carry life. We're precious. So that being said, I hope this makes sense for you. Marriage is not cookie cutter, but we have the outline. We have evidence, neuroscience, the Bible, that can help us navigate where our strengths are at, to recognize them and to work within them. So although I'm saying that I believe men are called to protect, provide, and lead, does not mean that you aren't capable. It means that you protect, provide, and lead in a different way. And I know how difficult it is to kind of discern what a healthy leader looks like, what kind of man you're looking for, if you keep running into the frustrations where you keep attracting the same type of guy, or you keep losing yourself in a relationship, or maybe you are struggling to come from that masculine fear energy to going into your feminine where you do feel comfortable for someone to lead, because that's where I was like, I don't know how to even do that. Like, I would like to. I would love to have someone that's capable of leading to where I don't feel alone, to where I feel safe and I can actually build something with them. But I just didn't know how to do that. I'm like, how do I turn it off? I can't. Like, how do I find that? And if you need help with that, I have my one-on-ones where you and I can sit down for an hour. It's an intensive one-on-one where I go through your situation. I help you apply that to your life so that way you can actually go and see results now. And if you're more of a self-paced person, I also have my course called Put Down the Sword, Pick Up Your Crown, so you can learn about going from your masculine to your feminine, stepping into your power instead of giving your power away. Because what society is teaching us about all this strong woman, hear me roar, a lot of that is actually taking your power away, not actually gaining your power back, though everybody likes to put it in a bow and make you believe that's the case. So, that being said, subscribe for more, share this with a woman that could use this info, and I hope I helped. Bye.